Only
Our next agenda item is elections, and it comes in multiple pieces. Mr. Jimyevich.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Madam Chair. Mark Jimyevich, Region 6. Mr. Lasher? Mr. Lasher, our candidate for governor in Maryland. Has been waiting patiently, twice. I wonder if there would be any objection to the concept of allowing him to briefly address the plans and enjoy them.
We appreciate you. We're terribly sorry about moving you from the room. Is that agendized?
That's an agenda, yes.
The next one.
And I object, because then I will not be able to take part in elections, unfortunately. Sorry, sir.
Hold on, there might be a way to move things around. I believe someone had a suggestion about breaking up agenda items so that Mr. Smith can at least participate in the, I'm trying to not argue a motion if somebody wants to.
Madam Chair, point of information.
Okay, yes.
The next thing is elections, and right after that on the agenda is Mr. Lasher speaking, so, or Lasher.
You speak over
It reminded me of something. If Mr. Smith has to leave, I know he's interested in being on all access. I want him to have an opportunity to give his speech.
Okay,
And that's pretty far down.
okay.
So I want Mr. Lasher to be able to speak next, but then maybe to.
What time do you have to leave, Joshua?
That's good.
My flight leaves at 5:50, so
I'm here.
so I would like to be out of here by 3:15, 3:30 at the latest.
Okay, so,
Hey, Josh, I have a flight at 5:40. I don't have to watch your rider.
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely.
Madam Chair.
You need a written motion.
one time.
I believe Mr. Smith will still be able to participate in elections if we do it via open vote. You will get the ballot and the results can be announced tomorrow, except we were, because it's just a few candidates for assistant treasurer, we could take care of that. But the other elections, I was going to suggest we do by open vote, because otherwise counting on these cards is going to take a long time. And that way Mr. Smith would get the ballot and be able to participate in those elections.
Okay, so here's what it sounds like may happen. Election of assistant treasurer would happen in real time here. We would hear from people who wanted to be nominated to positions who are in the room.
Right.
Here. The vote would take place electronically.
And I was, just so the LNC knows, I don't know whether you will approve, we're gonna be throwing Spike out maybe again. I was going to move to go into executive session to discuss the candidates for these committees candidly. After we hear from people who are in the room who either want to speak for somebody or speak to their own nomination.
Okay, and then I have one more question. Would it be possible to hear from Mr. Lasher in the middle of elections in between two committees? This is weird. I'm sorry, everyone, we should have we work this out.
This is what I would suggest.
Okay.
I would suggest that we move to the election of treasurer, which I think we can do quickly. Then people speaking to nominations, because I don't think there's going to be very much of that. Then we hear from Mr. Lasher, then we move into executive session. It will make a motion, and if it's approved, we would move into
Okay.
So there's a,
Yeehaw, second.
Okay,
Yeehaw.
it's been moved and yeehawed. That we continue our next agenda item, and then we're gonna revisit. I have no idea what was moved and yeehawed, but I like it.
It feels nice. It feels nice.
This is the new way.
It says.
Are you waiting for me to get out? We could go right to the, I'm trying to put what I said on.
Yeah, no, you can type your thing and take your time.
Okay,
AT election, Mr. Lashley.
yeah,
The motion.
AD election, hear from people in the room who want to be on committees, then Mr. Lasher. Then we'll kick us back out of the room again. Maybe.
The next item on the agenda is the treasurer's election, so
Yeah.
let's do that now without any further ado.
And
I don't know, we're in the middle of a motion and I don't know
No,
what
there
it
is
says.
no motion.
There is.
yeah,
There
this
is
is
a
amend
motion.
the agenda, so.
She's right.
You don't have to amend the agenda, the
Election.
agenda is right.
well, we are in the middle. We're in the middle already. So
There is a motion to.
we can
change
rescind the
agenda.
motion, move forward to the election of the assistant treasurer, and then reintroduce the motion without that part. We're already in.
So you have to suspend the rules in order to let this gentleman speak.
No, yes, but we're moving where he's speaking at and also taking up 2 elections, on elections, plus letting people change. We have to do it.
Listen, I'll just show you.
Yes.
Who made that motion?
Not all.
I did.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I said so moved, which I thought was.
We can fight over it.
appropriate to repeat.
It's a good fight. I like it.
That bench.
It's good. No, it's good because we're in agreement. We're
So I move to amend the agenda to proceed in the following order. Election of assistant treasurer, to hear nominations, to hear from Mr. Lasher, and then to consider a motion to enter into executive session to speak about candidates for committee.
Second.
there we go. Okay, we're amending the agenda, so it requires 2/3. Yes.
I call the question.
Oh, delightful. Are there any objections? Going once, going twice. Requires 2/3. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. There we have it.
So now we're on, assistant treasurer.
Sure. Okay, we need a list of nominees.
They are on.
Yeah, they're up there.
Okay, these are in OneNote.
Only 2 are present.
Somewhere.
Yeah, they are under new business with previous.
There we go.
Madam Secretary, can you zoom that at all, or?
Yeah, maybe.
So, new business with previous
so much
notice
better.
is the red tab. And then it's the second to top item, assistant treasurer applicants, applications. How much time do we have?
That's not the second to the top, you gotta scroll all the way.
What?
5 minutes, we have
It's
4
the sixth
elections
one.
for your attendance, 4 elections for your.
Okay. Okay, so we need to give the speakers time. Who in here? We have Martin Cowan, we have Brian Elliott. Is anyone intending to speak on behalf of any of the other applicants? It's okay if you're not. Okay, so. Okay, what do we want, 3 to 4 minutes for each?
Normally it's a couple minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes? Just curious if we have extra time. Okay,
There's only 2 of us,
I,
and I promise you I'll be less than 6 seconds, so let's
oh,
just
well, there we
go.
go.
There we
Okay,
go.
so does it matter? Do you care who goes first?
No, of course not.
Okay, we're gonna go off the order, so,
Why would I care? It's me.
Martin Cowan, you go first.
All right, I will. I am so honored to be here with you today. I feel great love, not to be particular, but I love you guys and I want to serve. That's my goal. I'm here to serve. And I just wanted you to know that I think Todd has the right to pick his treasurer, assistant treasurer. And so Martin Cowan is going to vote for Brian Edwards.
No!
Lion.
And I share exactly that sentiment. You all completely misinterpret my words. I too am here to serve, and I am happy to accept Todd's confidence in me, and I'm confident that we can
That's good ballot.
Okay,
Very contentious.
Let's just vote for it now.
that was so fast that I didn't even have a chance to take notes. That's it, we're gonna go to an election?
Yep.
Okay, how would we like to proceed, election form?
Would David like to be, would David and Mark like to be vote tellers? So here's cards you want to.
Yeah, I'm perfectly comfortable with oral vote.
Yeah, given the.
Let's go to oral vote.
It may need to be.
Does
You're
it
not
have to be
going to
that?
do
Well,
I
that's
was
one of the
actually
candidates,
specific.
so, yeah.
I think it has to be valid just because procedurally, right?
And, yeah, and
So you choose
please,
one, right?
you pick one, and please legibly write your name, because it's a roll call basically type of vote. I need to report how it's going.
So you want to argue?
Yes. Yes.
I know.
Oh, I'm an alternate.
Madam Secretary, I just want to put out that there is a discrepancy in Brian's name on there.
I'm still trying.
Oh, yeah, two votes.
Why and one or two teams?
Two teams.
I move that I need to.
Guys, you gotta write your name on your ballot.
Well, when they get back.
Fairness says it does not.
What? Here now.
What?
Wasn't last time we did it either.
What?
It's not secret ballot.
No, it's not, never a secret ballot.
His name on the bottom.
So I'm not going through your ballots. I don't care who you vote for, and I won't be cracking your skulls.
You're gonna put this on there.
If somebody really wants.
Probably. I'm not. I'm probably not gonna look.
You're gonna look at this gross malfeasance.
It makes me cringe that we don't have secret ballots, but that's the way it is, and people are interested in transparency, so I'm gonna roll it.
Yeah.
Is it 2 L's and an I or 1 L?
2 L's and 2 T's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh.
How do you spell fun?
No, he said how to spell it.
Good? Yeah, I see that. I don't think I'm collecting.
Yeah, exactly. Point. Almost everything I absolutely want to be here.
It's majority, the first to get a majority is more than one person gets a majority. It's not a plurality, so it's not a first. There has to be a suspension.
I'll just read your ballots.
Okay, well, I don't think we have to worry about first past the post. Brian.
Okay.
Yeah, 15-0. Congratulations.
Brian Elliott is our new assistant treasurer. Thank you very much. Okay, next up on our amended agenda.
And we were going to, maybe I wasn't clear on that, Chair, and maybe people voted and understood differently, I'm fine with that. When I had said clear nominations, it wasn't just for assistant treasurer, it was for anyone who, while
here that
Mr.
wants to
Smith
speak
was
about it.
here, to talk about any of the other candidates for other committees, including ballot access, since Mr. Smith wanted to be on ballot.
Oh, yeah, that was my understanding.
Yes.
Okay, so committees that are currently under consideration, we've got affiliate support, candidate support,
And audit,
audit committee,
and ballot.
and there are a couple of vacancies on ballot. So if you are sitting at this table, that table, or any other table, and you're interested in ballot access, affiliate support, candidate support, or audit committee, hand up.
I didn't apply.
You'll be good, stick is on.
Yeah, I'll do work.
Okay, so we are going to run through these, we're gonna start with ballot access. 2 minutes? How much time's on the agenda?
Well, for all of these, there was 40 minutes, but I don't think it's gonna take that long if we end up going to overvote, so.
Correct. Okay, up to 2 minutes each. If you squish it into 30 seconds, we're gonna love you for it. You've got a lot to say. If you have planning stuff, go 2 minutes. If you're just like, oh, I have a beautiful face, just go 30 seconds. Ballot access. Hands up. All right, let's line up over here so I can actually keep track of you all. We're gonna let Mr. Smith go first because he's.
And we have 2 open slots.
Two open
Ballot
LNC
access.
spots.
There are 2 open LNC slots. I'm gonna ask a couple of brief questions. Okay, Darth, go first.
Okay, so this is something that's been near and dear to me for quite some time. I've spoken a lot about ballot access and how important. I know it's very important in this fight that we have around the country because I've traveled around the country and I've worked on ballot access petitioning. I put together a ballot access fundraiser with the chair of Alabama a few years ago that raised them a lot of money to help get them on the correct path to where they now have full ballot access for the first time in a long time. I've been through the last 4 years of budget meetings with this board. I've had to discuss the importance of ballot access, the cost of ballot access. I spent time speaking with Mr. Redpath, who was the beacon for ballot access in this party for a long time. And I think I have a very unique perspective, and it's just a committee that I've always wanted to be on. Fortunately, for 4 years, I had a board that wouldn't put me on committees, and now I have the opportunity to do so and a lot of firsthand knowledge of the cause. So I really appreciate it if you guys would give me your support so that I can go help Mr. Nana and others on the board in any way that I can. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh, wait, what other committees are you on?
I am on the APRC, and I believe I'm on the awards committee as well, but it's not a committee I need to be on. You guys can really respond to the awards committee.
The next meeting was terminated,
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Next up, Ms. Harwood.
All right, I'm the Susan Lucci of applicants for the ballot access committee. I've every single time, and I'm not bitter about that at all. There have been very, very qualified people who have been put on it, but it is a committee that I've always been interested in. And Mr. Nana said he wanted someone who can write a good report. I can write really good reports. I wrote a 110-page long region one report, so whether that's good or bad, I guess, is up to the imagination. But one thing I'm really involved in Colorado is RCV. And I think there are 2 things that will forever keep the Libertarian Party back. We need voting reform and we need to get rid of ballot censorship. So those are the 2 issues I want to dedicate my time to. I do locally for voting reform, but I think the 2 go hand in hand. I really do. So I'm a workhorse. I don't think anyone doubts that. This is a hard-working committee, and I'm willing to put in the time and research. So I ask for your vote.
Thank you, Ms. Harwood. What other committees are you on?
Oh, okay, I'm on APRC and the Historical Preservation Committee. And what? Well, the EC is like an automatic. And I'm ex officio on the convention committee, but it's not voting. You can work if you want to, kind of thing.
I want to know, yeah. Question, did we amend the policy manual yet to change it so that LNC members can be on board?
Yes.
That's already done. Okay, good. All right, next up, Mr. Gould.
Thank you. Rich Bowen, at-large representative. As Josh said, I'm sure everyone will say here, very passionate about ballot access. I think it is the most important thing that we do at this level. I would like to work with Dustin and with the board. My experience with Mr. Ford in Region 8, we spent a lot of time on the other side of the desk. That being asking for ballot funds for a number of the states. As I said, it is just a passion with me. I love crazily enough, I love the research. I love the digging into state regulations to see what what is there, what can be changed, and just the demographics of the differences of each state. For instance, New Jersey, we don't have a ballot access issue, believe it or not. We need 800 signatures for presidential. We need 800 for statewide candidates, 100 for congressional. But obviously, there are other states where it is so important and getting more and more important, because as we make inroads, the major parties are just going to make it harder and harder. So, I'd like your support. Thank you.
Question?
Questions?
Madam Chair, are there any more applicants?
Mr. Babu?
And then, Mr. Ford, did I miss Mr. Ford, or I thought maybe you were interested, but.
I'm sorry, that book got access.
Yes, sir.
I've decided to really focus on energy. Excuse me, good light.
Sorry.
No, I've decided to really focus my energies in pursuing an opportunity with affiliate support.
Okay.
I believe, though, there is to echo yesterday's conversation from the chair, I believe that we will be very successful with this LNC and not operating in silos. So I look very, if not involved in affiliate support, I look forward to working aggressively with ballot access.
Okay, you said you were interested in digging into regulation. Are you interested in more than just signature gathering, like lobbying and legislative?
Lobbying, yeah, that's what I meant, exactly.
Okay.
Lobbying legislation.
Okay, good.
Changing.
Okay. What committees are you?
I am currently executive committee member. I am on the current version of the convention committee, which will disband in a month or so.
Right.
And I am anticipating that I will be running for office.
Okay. Got it. All right, thanks for.
Thank you, everyone.
I'll start by saying I'm perfectly willing to do all this if I'm not on the committee. But the fact that you said multiple millions of dollars yesterday is likely the ask. And the fact that the next 2 years we only have about $4 or $5 million in the budget makes me think the treasurer should be on this committee, since it'll be a major budget line item. I'm very capable and looking to do a 50-state financial analysis of how much this is going to cost. But again, I will do that regardless of whether I'm on the committee or not. The only committee I'm on right now is executive committee.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Okay, so that's ballot access. Okay, let's go to affiliate support next. Affiliate support, guys, if you're interested and you're on the executive or the LNC, let's line up so we can hear from you up to 2 minutes.
I chair the affiliate committee, so anybody,
Where's Kathleen?
just step in the door.
Wait. We don't have
Well, yeah. Yes.
Madam Chair, point of inquiry.
Yes.
Is it not true that the affiliate support chairperson is appointed by the chair of the party, not the general members?
It is, and there is something else that's also true.
Madam Chair, before we hear from nominations for affiliate support, I would like to move to amend the agenda to allow consideration of a policy manual amendment at this time that would affect the composition of that committee.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. And that's, we need Ms. Carlos to type out her motion so that we can see it and understand it.
Okay, one moment, because I want to look at these committee appointments. Where did I put that on here?
Oh, I brought it down.
Oh, I know.
Okay.
One moment, I need to pull up the policy manual. Did you want me to state the motion and then I can?
Okay, Ms. Carlos is going to state your motion.
Okay, so presently, right now, the member selection is committee chair selected by LNC. I have no intention of changing that. 3 LNC regional representatives selected by the committee chair. I had not intended on changing that, but I'm open to an amendment to my motion if somebody would. Where I wanted to change it, instead of 3 members selected by the Libertarian State Leadership Alliance, I wanted to strike Libertarian State Leadership Alliance and instead put in LNC.
Any questions, any discussion on the motion?
Second, if we need to be, no, it's a.
Okay, so it's definitely been moved and seconded at this point. We good? We're gonna go to vote.
I would like to say, Madam Secretary, especially given the candidates that we have in there, do we want to, I can't move this, but do we want to say regional representatives or alternates? Because it really actually just says regional reps, which means technically that an alternate cannot be appointed by the LNC.
I would be amenable to, I'll move to amend my own motion or withdraw the, well, however the chair wishes. Yeah, which is, I agree with Mr. Pankey, so it would be, 3 LNC regional representatives or alternates selected by the committee chair, 3 members selected by the LNC.
Would you also, for having the chair be an alternate, because the chair currently is the same language as for the committee chair?
Chair from. No, it says LNC chair selects from pool of LNC at-large, LNC regional representatives, and LNC vice chair. I'm actually not amenable there, only because I do think the chair of the committee should be the primary. But if someone else wants to move to amend, others may disagree.
We're one amendment potentially deep. The amendment will need a second.
And that was to have the 3 that in the second
Include
column.
all.
Yes.
Before we go down this
All
road,
it is.
who are you going to select that might be moved? What do you know?
There, double sure.
Okay, it's a primary, so this is the move. We need to change it.
No, Robley is
Oh,
is current.
So you would need this change. Just
Oh, you
select
wanted
there.
to select Robley?
No, she said blue shirt. I'm a blue shirt even.
Wow. Right, my point is if you're selecting it over somebody who's already a rep, we don't need to amend.
Correct. First amendment, relevant.
Yeah.
Second suggested amendment, not so relevant. Okay, but your amendment was fine.
Okay,
So it's been moved and seconded.
the amendment.
Yes. So now we're on the amendment. Does everyone understand the amendment? We can also pick from alternates. Okay, fantastic. Gonna go to a vote. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Nope, okay, here we go. All right, now we're gonna go on to the main motion, and the main motion as amended is,
So it would be that the member selection would be committee chair selected by LNC chair, 3 LNC regional representatives or alternates selected by the committee chair, 3 members selected by the LNC.
okay? Yes,
Sorry, Madam Chair, if the Secretary wouldn't mind with the public's information, perhaps explaining the rationale behind this.
Sure.
Please, thank you.
Okay, the rationale, which we had briefly stated earlier, but it really probably wasn't appropriate. I know that the chair has a vision for how committees are going to be working together synergistically and has an expanded vision for the affiliate support committee. Because of that, I think the selection of the committee members should be in the hands of the LNC and not necessarily an outside organization. Another factor in my decision was that we had not at all as a body heard from the LSLA. There's been no reach out to us. And I inquired of the state chair of Colorado if there's been a reach out from the LSLA, and there hasn't been. So it just seemed to me that until they get more active, we want this committee to hit the ground now. We need to do the appointments.
Thank you very much.
The person I'm appointing to chair this committee, I believe, is on the LSLA.
What's that, sorry?
What's your affiliation with the LSLA?
Technically, I'm the vice chair.
There you go. So they're not getting removed fully.
They'll have a voice.
Yeah, they'll have a voice. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we're on the main motion as amended. Does everyone understand it now? It's been explained. We're in discussion. Yes.
Just a quick question. The LSLA used to appoint non-members or members to the board?
Members of they used to appoint, if this passes, it will be used to, but right now our policy is that they would appoint 3 members to the affiliate support committee.
And were those LNC members or?
Oh, no, it could be anybody.
My only concern with the motion is that we are taking some non-LNC member activity away and adding only LNC members.
No, I said the LNC appoints, it doesn't have to be LNC member.
Okay, that's what I was looking for. Okay, thank you.
Got it. Okay. Any further discussion? Any questions on the main motion as amended?
I'm just putting abbreviation in here because I stated it.
Yep, we've seen it a couple of times. I think we all understand what it is. We've had some questions clarified. Are we ready to go to a vote? Okay, let's do a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Benner?
Yes.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yes.
Mr. Bowen?
Yes.
Mr. Duque? Mr. Eklund?
Yes.
Ms. Eiler?
Yes.
Mr. Elliott?
Yes.
Mr. Ford?
Express extension, just,
Okay. Ms. Gabbard?
Yes.
Mr. Hagopian?
Yes.
I will vote yes. Mr. Nana?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Smith? Is he still?
Right there.
Oh, sorry. Mr. Watkins?
Yes.
Okay, Madam Chair, it is 13 yes, 0 no, 1 express abstention.
All right, motion passes. Now, I apologize, but you can line up again. Mr. Ford, if you'd like to give a statement at the end, go. But everybody else, jump up 2 minutes, up to 2 minutes, if you like.
Okay, my name's Anita Gabbard, Region 7 Rep. So in Arkansas, when you are a at-large member for any board, you are essentially manager of all affiliates. So since my involvement, I have been at-large for the county, so I founded my county party. And then state, I have been at-large member for almost 2 years now. I have created the state affiliate handbook. So I've created all the structure, all the infrastructure for each affiliate. We have 25 county affiliates right now. I created 16 of those. So it's one of my favorite things to do. I love giving people resources in order to create their affiliates. I like keeping it efficient, keeping it going, because maintenance is one of the hardest things to do with an affiliate. It is literally my favorite job in the party. I'm very good at it, and so I hope you'll have your consideration.
Thank you, Leah. Whatever committees are you on or interested in?
None.
There you go. Fantastic. Next up is Mr. Watkins.
Hello, what she said. Yeah, so my name is Andrew, I'm Region 5 Rep. This is the main committee that I had a lot of interest in before, even before announcing a run for LNC, because I was very intimately involved in the issue that was going on in my area with the affiliate that we had, and I played the major role in founding the replacement of that one. And there was nothing really that, we had questions that were not answered really by the state party because people either didn't know or they just kind of were busy and didn't respond or whatever. But it kind of helped. We kind of learned what we didn't know, and then I think with that experience, I can bring that to the committee and hopefully shine some light on that. But also, even just as a region rep, I think it's important to kind of see what's going on in each of your states to see where each state has like strong points and weaknesses and try to facilitate some overlaps, and in that way, they can build each other up in that way. And that's something that I would like to help facilitate, whether on the committee or not.
Other committees you're interested in?
None at this time.
None at this time. Particular things about affiliate support that you're interested in, if you could get technical or granular on 1 to 3 things.
So one thing, and I've talked to a couple of chairs in the past in the region that they've expressed interest in like templates for like how to run meetings or how to like formulas for fundraising events. Things that are kind of like plug and play that can be shared, with other states.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, next up we have Joshua Clark.
Joshua Clark, Region 4 alternate. So I'm the county treasurer for Riverside County, California, and, taking on that role with a few other new board members on that board, just seeing a lot of our time has been spent trying to figure out what we're supposed to do and make sure we're compliant, things that are not actually liberty of reach. And so there's so much institutional knowledge, I believe, that's there that being a part of helping get that information out, I think is critical. I was talking to Andy and Kara yesterday, just an idea of like where I work, we have, people who put out programs, and then there's subject matter experts that are basically the points of contact that are like the next level that are reached out to. So, being on this affiliate support committee would give me the chance to be like a subject matter expert where I could get as much information from Andy as Kara as possible on institutional knowledge and resources that are available, and then be that point of contact for the region. So it's not necessarily bogging down our staff and, just kind of getting that information out there. So that's really important to me because being a part of an affiliate and seeing how we're focused on things that I don't think should be a big priority, but are necessary.
Okay. Liaison between affiliates and staff?
Yes.
Okay.
And the resources and institutional knowledge that are available, best practices. Part of what I've been doing in Riverside is building the standard operating procedure for any treasurers going forward, because that's not existing.
Okay. Other committees you're interested in?
It sounds like there's a need for some LNC members on the candidate support committee. I don't have a lot of experience necessarily in that arena, but I would be happy to put my name in there if that was necessary.
Okay, great, thank you.
Yep.
Next up, we have
Hi, Robley Hall, Region 8. I live in New Hampshire. I'm a proud Granite Stater. I became involved with the Free State Project in 2004, and I basically live liberty evangelism in New Hampshire. I'm a Port Fest organizer, and I spend a lot of time with new movers, potential new movers, spreading the message of liberty, trying to encourage people to get involved in local races, just various liberty activities. And I want to bring that same sort of message across all the affiliates to encourage them to engage in the same kind of activities and work wherever they are to spread the message of liberty. I promise not to try and coach everyone to move to New Hampshire, even though that's something we engage in, as Dave knows. I'm very interested in doing anything I can to help every affiliate work to kind of replicate what we do in New Hampshire and spread liberty in their states, and from the top level of the state to the local level. And that's really it. I mean, I live liberty on a daily basis in New Hampshire, and I'd like everyone in the country to have the same thing.
Can you articulate 1 to 3 things quickly that you do in the Free State Project that would be helpful to bring to it?
Talking to people, explaining libertarianism and why they're better off living in a free society. helping people understand what opportunities there are in local races. And helping people find introductions to the Liberty community.
Okay, thank you. And are there other committees you're interested in?
Candidate support, I would participate in.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. Mr. Ford is the chair appointee for everyone who's cool with that.
Yes.
Very
And we don't have to go
Point of clarification, so are we voting for 2 people to join him, or is he, he's one of 2 people?
We're just, yeah, we
elected in this vote?
He's appointed by the chair.
Okay,
He's appointed, not elected, or
right,
elected?
Mr. Ford is appointed, then Mr. Ford gets to select 3 LNC regional representatives or alternates, and then we are gonna elect 3 additional people. That can be LNC, non-LNC, doesn't matter.
Thank you.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Madam Chair, for your confidence in me taking on, I would argue, is perhaps one of the most critical committees in the immediate future of the Libertarian National Committee, as well as the Libertarian Party at large. I love being the Region 8 representative. Been able to do it twice on a filling basis, and the job speaks to me. I'm happiest when I'm driving 3 hours to some small town in New England or the Northeast, going to an event that involves local politics, local libertarians, and serving as a catalyst and a partner and a supporter of those efforts. It's what I love doing. For the rest of whatever my libertarian career I have, whether I have a title or not, that's what I'll be doing. I am the luckiest libertarian guy, without a doubt. I served 3 times as a state chair for the state of Rhode Island. I was part of a team, absolutely a team, that essentially turned the lights back on in the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island. They've gone dark over the years. And that involved everything from working with our local elections folks, as well as, again, recreating a new image for the Libertarian Party of Rhode Island. One that I'm proud to say I believe is one of the most radical, most aggressive, unapologetic Libertarian parties in the nation. I will point out to this room that only one party fired Bill Weld during the 2016 campaign, and it was us. Over the last few years, I've had the pleasure, and we're going to be restarting it with my new and good friend Connor, some of the LPTV efforts, which are aimed at candidate interview shows. I've also did, as long as I had a producer, we also did a show that incorporated, if you will, leadership from each affiliate. And we had an interview show about that. We discussed best practices. But we also took the opportunity to shed some love and some glow on all the wonderful affiliates that we have across the nation. I share Madam Chairman's vision for affiliate development. In the last few years, some interesting and noble efforts have been made about contests and affiliates in a box. And I'm not here to write them, but what I'm here to say is that there is a crying need for affiliates and candidates, quite frankly, to be coached up. When I say coached up, I want to spend less time inward-facing, more time outward-facing. Folks running for this have brought up some wonderful points. Best practices, critical. The skills in developing new affiliates or regional affiliates, very important. But what I found in spending time with literally hundreds of candidates around the country is that we need skills at the affiliate level in legislative support. We need skills in communications and earned media. We need skills, and quite frankly, my friend Karen Ann calls it agile. In other words, let's get to the streets. I know a number of folks from the Mises movement have been very engaged on a local basis on protests. Let's be unapologetically, slightly confrontationally libertarian. Let's take the lessons that we've learned in COVID, the few that we were able to do, mostly that came from the affiliate level, and let's take that nationally. We can do this digitally. We can do this locally. Happy to work on any capacity possible in order to turn, important point, to support the decision of individual affiliates to turn outward to be more provocative. I think I stand here in front of you with a very good record in terms of some of the controversies that have occurred with affiliates. I ultimately support the right of members attending a convention to elect their own leadership, and efforts to deny that, efforts to derail that, I will be all over it. Because ultimately, it's the membership and the membership community at large electing those positions. I take that very, very seriously.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon.
All right. Closing time. As you all know, I can talk, listen, I love this job. I'm looking forward to working with all of you. And again, important point, I'll work closely with ballot access. I'll work closely with candidate support. I'll leave
Okay, so candidate support, I don't think we've heard from candidates. Did I make that up? Okay. Who is interested in candidate support, whether you have or have not supported?
Do you want us to come up again?
I just wanted to see. Robley, and there was one other person.
Josh, I think Josh said.
Yeah.
We're saying candidates interest.
Well,
Okay, and Josh Smith.
He was ballot access, I thought, right?
Yeah,
It's not like this, Mr. Clark.
but he left the room. Okay, so the notes I had Robley and Joshua Clark. Okay, that's all I had. Okay, you guys don't have to speak to me, it's fine. I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anyone. I have my notes in front. Audit Committee. We got Rich, do we have anyone else?
You're afraid of running.
So here's what I would like. Audit Committee is 3 people, right?
It is one LNC member voted by the LNC and 2 non-LNC members voted by the LNC.
Officers do not get to vote in this.
Really?
That's fine.
Allegedly, we're the ones being audited.
That's fine. So I'm going to be putting together an ad hoc audit advisory committee to help with additional projects that need to be audited because people have asked for things to be audited. So if you're interested in any type of auditing, if you like to pour through paperwork, if you're not already saddled with a bunch of other projects or committees, this would be a good time to speak up and take 1 to 2 minutes at a time. So we'll hear from Rich briefly.
You want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, I've been on the audit committee since September of 2018, so it's the last 2 terms. Just so those of you that may not know, the audit committee is very limited in scope as it stands in the bylaws. It does not take a lot of time, but it is a very important process. Basically, the audit committee, and the reason that it is only 3 members, is tasked with hiring a CPA firm to do the independent audit each year. We do not do the audit ourselves. Okay, so it is an independent, truly independent financial audit done by a CPA firm. And then it is our job to report those results to the board at large after the audit is complete. That is done on an annual basis. Real quick, my background, I am a CPA, I've been for years, I'm retired.
Hold on, Rich. I think the owl's picking up us. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
It's because Rich is speaking behind me.
I am a retired CPA. I have worked as an auditor, doing many independent audits in my career. I have also worked the other side of the desk, where I have consulted with companies who are being audited. So I've seen from all sides. And I am more than happy to serve again in that capacity, considering the experience I have.
Okay, anybody else interested in auditing? All right, I'm gonna pick you off later one by one. Okay, so
We do have a problem with candidate support, which requires 5 LNC members unless we amend that in the policy manual.
well, we can dig into that in our later discussions.
Okay, just let me know.
Yep. Oh, yeah, you're gonna have to. Okay, so that brings us to, what's our next sub-agenda item?
I believe it's to hear from Mr. Clark. Yes, hear from Mr. Lasher.
Fantastic. Mr. Lasher, come on down. The price is right. Thank you so much for being so patient. We are, again, delighted to have you here, and I really appreciate you and your campaign team coming down last night. That doesn't work, but pretend it does.
I pretend it does. And 15 minutes, 10 minutes? What do you want?
15 minutes.
15 minutes it is?
Short, that's fine.
Okay. So I'll keep myself on the clock because I like to keep my promises. So, and the other thing I like to do is try to figure out anytime I'm with an audience, what might that audience be interested in? Okay, so I'm going to take just a few minutes to give an intro of myself because you have to do that. And then what I want to talk about is my campaign, but I want to talk about it with a mind to what are the lessons from my campaign that maybe we can take out to other libertarian campaigns. I'm going to submit that I am a strong candidate and I am running a good campaign. And miraculously, about 2 weeks ago, as Otto and those from Maryland can attest, we've got a great opportunity in front of us, right? So with an eye towards lessons, let me start. So David Lasher from across the river here. I'm an IT executive, run a small consulting firm with my business partner. Been in IT since the Y2K remediation days, right? You know a little bit about my age. And my wife, I got my wife and my daughter. My daughter's the one we need to thank for her patience. She's on the other side of the wall here. And my wife has spent her career in environmental protection and natural resources. I think this is important. You know, the Libertarian crew is not usually for the government programs, but especially in a state like Maryland, being able to talk about your spouse and her being in government. This is a way to connect to people, right? And so I always like to thank my wife for letting me run and she does. And politically, I go back to, I'm a Republican. I was a Reagan Republican. I began to feel quite uncomfortable in the party with the invasion of Iraq, right? And I decided to leave the party in short with the rise of Donald Trump. So when I left, this was after I worked I started in 1988 working on the Dole for President campaign. That's where I got my political start as a research analyst. I went to Capitol Hill, was a young staffer there, and actually wrote legislation, public-private partnerships for people who know PPPs for infrastructure. First bill ever passed in the Federation campaign's fingertips. Daniel Patrick Moynihan got the credit as the author of having been a sponsor. But then I took that. I was in and out of the private sector, and I ended up in Maryland. Does anybody? Larry Hogan is our outgoing governor. And time for him to go. And I was still Republican in 16, 17, and I served in this administration. And I ran technology and operations and was the chief of staff at a $14 billion Department of Health in Maryland. I did things like, and then how might that be interesting? So Justice Reinvestment Act, which nobody here would have heard about, but I worked on problems that have been lingering for 30 years at the intersection of criminal justice and behavioral health. The short story is, when somebody is before the courts and the judge orders that they have substance use disorders or mental illness, they need placement for treatment. Right? It was taking 80 to 120 days for decades. Violation of human rights, constitutional rights, and statute in Maryland. A sequence of people have not solved this problem. I was assigned the problem. Within 90 days, we got that 80 to 120 days down to 15 to 25. Right? So again, this is important if you're standing for governor to actually have experience and accomplishments. And I stand as a third party candidate having more accomplishment and experience than a Democratic and Republican rivals, right? So the real world experience does matter, I think, in the elections. Within the Libertarian Party, I am a neutral within the caucus rivalries. I belong to two caucuses. Otto's heard me say this before. The broad Libertarian caucus, which is anybody who is the slightest bit libertarian-ish on even a single issue, right? I'm with anybody like that, right through to the other caucus I belong to, which is the Lasher Caucus, membership one, fully subscribed. That's it, right? I'm for the cause, anything for the cause, and anybody who's a part of it. And that gets me to the way I think about my role and mission. I think there's two types of roles and missions within our movement. And I think too many people within our party get the two roles confused. And so I want to harken to some of the two-way language. What I submit in politics is that there are keepers of the light and bearers of the torch, right? Keepers of the light are sitting in this room. They're the ones that are probably interested enough to be watching me off this owl. These are people in Maryland, Arvin Vora, right? He's a keeper of the light, right? He actually taught me the importance of adhering to principle. I learned that from Arvin, right? Keepers of the light. And then there are bearers of the torch. That's what I am. I'm going out and talking to people who have never heard of libertarianism and trying to help them understand what it is a little bit and take some baby steps towards us, right? And then if I bring people into our movement in church, it is up to people like Spike to get them up out of the pew and raising the roof, right? Of course, Spike is also a bearer of the torch as well, but I'm exclusively a bearer of the torch. That's the way I think about it. That's why I think as a candidate, one thing that I would emphasize is that sometimes you wonder as a libertarian candidate whether everybody within the Libertarian Party movement is going to have your back if you speak wrong or have a dissenting idea on some particular issue, right? I would encourage everybody within the Libertarian Party to be full force behind candidates, no matter what, once they're candidates, right? That would be something from my candidate experience. The campaign, the campaign itself, I've been on it for 18, 20 months now. First step, get spouse's permission. Second step was I was not going to do this run for governor without a great running mate. So I recruited my running mate, Christiana. I keep looking at Otto because he's been on the journey with me, right? And I have we are true partners in this endeavor. Christiana would be here, except she's out campaigning in westernmost Maryland with a state delegate candidate of ours, right? Doing the door knocking. So we're doing everything that we need to be doing. The third thing I did was go to Otto and the Mises Caucus within Maryland. The other thing that I was not going to do was embark on this without the support of the energy, the main energy in Maryland and other state parties, right? And so I think doing the internal alignment is another thing that I think all Libertarian Party candidates need to do. Right? So that's the reason I mentioned that. Once I did that, once I had my enlistments, I went into what I would call the construction phase. And the construction phase was getting the digital properties built to a level of professionalism that was superior to what I expected from Republicans and Democrats. The reason that I think that is extraordinarily important is because whether it's voters or the press, they're looking at reasons to dismiss us. Right? So we have to perform at a higher level. And if you do go through our channels and I think that you will see that we've got very top-notch digital presence. And I want to give a shout out to Crystal Woodworth in Western Maryland, and have a great social director and graphical designer. So the construction was getting the platform with the messaging. And the messaging wasn't aimed at internal libertarian stakeholders. It was for the voters, right? I think this is, again, something libertarian candidates too often get out and they want to talk about what they're passionate about, their issues, and that's a mistake, right? I mean, you've got to weave it in. But what you need to be asking yourself is, who is my audience? Who are my voters? What do they care about? And how can I bring a libertarian message of what they care about? So I haven't been pushing foreign policy in Yemen, right? I don't push Federal Reserve and its role, right? I push what Marylanders care about. And Marylanders want school choice, affordable housing. Everybody knows the tragedy of Baltimore, ending the war on drugs, right? That's the kind of thing that I've been doing. Once I had the platforms in place with the messaging, the next stage was going into what I call my metamorphosis. My metamorphosis was going from suspecting I might actually be a decent candidate to being a well-honed candidate. We were having a conversation out here about honing swords. I've been going since October out to the hostile environments. I've been going to the social justice, environmental justice, housing justice, education justice environments that the Republicans are going to, right? And I've been going in there with our libertarian message, and I've been getting received. There's two things that are happening. I'm becoming more confident in getting feedback, but I'm being received well by these far left audiences, right, who are saying you're an important part of the civic discussion. And what am I doing now? I'm trying to line them up as I try to get the media to support the third party that's in this race. So becoming a bona fide candidate was very important. The question that arose was, okay, you've got a good team, you've got good platforms, what are you trying to do with this campaign? Because we always, as top of the ticket candidates, we have our ballot access responsibilities, right? So in Maryland, I have to hit 1%. You'd be surprised if I don't. I had a personal goal of 5%, and then it was otherwise getting the message out. Right? Those are my responsibilities. But then the big party primaries were last week, and what ended up happening was instead of the D's or the R's electing moderates that were on their slates, they elected a candidate from the Democratic side who's to the left of Joe Biden. And on the Republican side, they nominated a Trumpster who was actually part of the insurrection on January 6th. Right? This has opened up a real opportunity for us in Maryland to beat the Republican Party, and with some luck, maybe prevail overall. I'm a candidate, so I have to think that way, right? But we could really get some attention, some dialogue that could help the cause. And the other thing that we're doing is we're making strides. Part of my strategy is to go into Baltimore City. Right? I think that the black community in the United States should be turning to us in droves. Right? We have the ideas, policies. One-party rule has not worked in American cities. Right? I don't know why the black community would turn to the Republican Party as their alternative. Here we are. Right? So I've been going into Baltimore City and will continue to be going into Baltimore City. And we're now getting enough momentum there and of a following that it looks like we're going to have candidates for mayor of Baltimore in 2024, right? 2 years from now. So building the party. So that's what we're doing. To wrap up with some lessons, we've got a very interesting place that we're at. Even the independent media is covering me and us in positive ways, even though the League of Women Voters doesn't seem to be very interested in having us on the debate stage course at this point. So it's my job to turn up the pressure for that to happen. So what would I say? One of the things to other candidates out there, I think one of the things that the candidates need to think about is what they're proposing and why they're proposing it. And dwelling on what you want is a way to dwell on something that there's going to be differences upon. I would encourage candidates to go out and talk about why they're for the policies that they want to. Connect to people at that level, voters at that level, have those discussions, and that's how you bring them to you. So the what versus why. I also think that authenticity is very important. And I think that one of the great advantages that libertarian candidates have is that we're not lifetime politicians, right? And I think that some candidates think that that's a weakness, but it's a strength. But you have to remember to be yourself. As Otto can attest, I have my own style that you've got some experience with here in the last 10, 12 minutes. But I get feedback that I should be more like Spike. Right? But I'm not Spike, right? I'm not Spike. And I think what candidates have to remember is to be themselves, and that's the way to connect with voters. The other thing that I would say is there has to be credibility and legitimacy. And I think that this is a place where a lot of libertarian candidates do hurt themselves. Is the legitimacy and credibility needs to be in the eyes of the voters and the press, the gatekeepers to the voters. And so I think spending more time on learning some of the issues, right? Learning more than what we need online and digital media is something that I would recommend to a lot more libertarian candidates. It's where I've been spending my time. So let me wrap up with a few asks for my campaign. Help me seize the opportunity that I think is ahead of us between now and November 8th. Of course, money would be nice, but that's not what I'm going to ask for. Introductions, right? To the degree that you can broker an introduction of my campaign to people who write or talk in the movement, any content that's produced that I'm a part of, I can use that to put pressure again on the local Maryland media to be covered, right? So helping me get in front of writers and speakers and on podcasts is something that I do request, because I'll turn around and use it in Maryland. And the other thing that I would have is, from my campaign, doing the simple thing of going to our campaign page, David Lasher on Facebook, I guess it's Lasher 2020 on Facebook, easy enough to find. It's always asked, but it's what we have been told by the League of Women Voters of Maryland is that one of the criteria they're going to have for me to be on their debate stage this fall is the number of people who are following us on our Facebook page. Now, whether you think that's a good metric or not, it apparently is going to be. So I just ask folks to go out and do that follow-up. And that's it. I hope I was. I think it's Lasher 2020.
David Lasher for governor.
There we go. So, I know how precious time is, and so thanks for having me.
Thank you.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lasher. I really appreciated what you said about keepers of the light and torchbearers. That was pretty awesome. All right, next up on our very amended agenda is potentially.
Was it here a motion?
Yep.
Okay, so I would make that motion at this time. I would move to go into executive session for the purpose of speaking about the candidates that have applied with various committees. I want to anticipate an objection coming up that that's not a proper purpose for executive session. In the past, volunteers have been considered under the umbrella of staff, or volunteer staff, and discussions about them shouldn't be aired out in public. Agreed?
It needs. Is everyone?
A second.
You're correct.
I'm willing to second it if I know why, and it's hard to say why without,
Oh, I can say that. I think that all of us have read the applications, and I think in the past, the LNC has read these applications in isolation, and maybe there was somebody who didn't put in the best applications, maybe they're not very writer, but somebody on the LNC may know them, and say, no, this is a perfect person. I also think if we're trying to create cohesive committees, that it's good for us to speak candidly amongst ourselves as to what we think, to try to get on the same page, perhaps with our voting, to elect cohesive committees.
This is the question, why don't we do that?
So that we can be candid in case there's something critical that some people may have to say, that it's not fair to our party members to say things critically about.
Okay, I'll second.
Any, okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes. The 11.
Martin, the other Region 6, so, you know, I oppose going into executive session purpose. We are putting ourselves forward as a more transparent body than perhaps some of our predecessors. I think that when there's a discussion, committee applicants, so this isn't like an employee who's applying if I want to discuss an executive session. There are committee applicants, it is fair game to express either compliments or constructive criticism or why one candidate might be better than another in a professional way. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. I think our members deserve that kind of transparency. I do hear your point about, well, gee, what if Dustin trash talk candidate A? Well, I don't think Dustin's going to trash talk candidate A. I don't think anybody is, because we're going to do this professionally. I have a professional discussion. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Todd, come take the gavel.
Did you say come take the gavel?
Yep. I'm not gonna pass it to Karen Ann because she's.
It's my motion.
Yeah.
You're calling the question. I am. Well, I can't.
No, I'm speaking.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I want us to have candid discussions and to be a cohesive board. There are people who have applied who are outstanding. There are people who have applied who I don't think have applied in good faith. And I am, I would like to discuss that to set aside any suspicions about people who have or have not applied in good faith. And I think those conversations are going to be very potentially ugly, and I don't want to damage anyone's reputation wrongfully or make it so that they would not be considered for other committee applications. I would prefer to work it out and have a positive outcome other than, as opposed to having a public smear session, which is totally unnecessary.
Plus, it also makes it a legal question. Legal liability for mis.
I don't want to be hit with, because we heard some rumor, now they're gonna.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying executive session
Yeah.
is good for that.
Potential slander.
Yeah.
Yes, I totally appreciate, Mr. I'm sorry if I'm
Yeah.
still,
Yeah.
I'm getting there. I totally appreciate, his point. However, I've always held the position that you only say praise about volunteers in public. If you have anything that is not outright praise, you say it in private. I just think it's respect for the members to do that. And again, somebody here may have had a bad experience or not think they're the right fit for a committee. It gets out in public and all of a sudden maybe they're not getting an appointment in their state party that they don't have the same issues with. I just think as an LNC, we praise in public, and something that might not be exactly praised, we do in private. I had considered starting this discussion, just sending out an email to LNC members, but I wanted to openly say that we were having this discussion. I didn't want to have a secret discussion in secret that nobody knew we were having a secret discussion. But I do totally appreciate your point, and I won't be angry or anything if it gets defeated. It's just something I feel pretty strongly about, and I can tell you, if we're in public session, there are comments I will not say.
Mr. Blankenship?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm unconvinced either way right now. I really, really agree with Mark transparent and open in these discussions. I'm very torn at the moment, because I also think that you and April both also make excellent points. So I think reading the room, I might not be the only one that feels uncomfortable going into executive session, but also understands the rationale behind it.
Okay, we have Mr. Bowen, Mr. Nana, and Mr. Elliott.
Yeah, I'll go on record as saying, I think we all believe in transparency. I like to believe I'm more passionate about transparency than most, but I will tell you that there are two people that are more about transparency than I know of, and that's Ms. Harless and Stark. I understand that, and my understanding of how passionate Ms. Harless is about transparency, that if she feels that way in this situation, then I believe it's the right thing to do, and I will support the motion. Thank you.
Mr. Kenneth, my concerns now that we've had a little bit more of a discussion are less so about coming into executive session than like the appearance of it. Because now what we basically said in public is we want to go into executive session to talk negatively about certain candidates. And nobody's going to ever know who we talk negatively about. So everybody that doesn't get selected to a committee is going to wonder, did they talk about me? What did they say about me? So at this point, I'm opposed to moving to executive session.
Mr. Elliott.
In keeping the risk of the organization top of mind, I share Mr. Cowan's view that the potential risk far outweighs the benefit of remaining in public session to discuss sensitive matters of individual people.
Any further discussion? Then I'll hear a call. No further discussion. Any objection? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
In favor of going to executive session?
All in favor of going to executive session? Raise your hand for the purpose of discussing the candidates. Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. All opposed? 1, 2, 9 to 2.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Nice, bye.
You're good. Oh, yeah.
By people.
In other words, it was the motion to throw stipend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
We're gonna talk about spiders now.
Yeah.